You're not unlucky in love. You're just not used to feeling safe with love. And I know that you have a big heart. You have a deep soul. When you love someone, you give it your all. And when you fall for someone, you fall so deeply, so massively. Fall in love, feel that chemistry, that sparks, these flames. But if you find yourself caught in relationship patterns where it all starts out great with rainbows and sunshines, but at the end of the day, with time, you find these relationships to spiral down where maybe he starts pulling away, he starts not texting you as much, not being interested in you as much, or not reciprocating that effort in this relationship as much. If you find yourself caught up in these patterns where it all starts out great and then it spirals down, it fizzles out, then the truth is that it's actually not because something is wrong with you, my dear. It's actually not because you are broken. But the truth is, it's just that you have confused chemistry with love. Instead, your chemistry is drawn to men, is drawn to relationship, is drawn to people who are not capable of giving and receiving love from you. And I know you may balk at it saying, what do you mean? But I really fell in love with this person. I truly felt the chemistry, the spark with him. You have no idea how deep of love that I felt for him, that we felt for each other. You may be saying that, but the truth is that exactly, my love, is the problem here. The fact that you fall in love so easily, the fact that you feel things so deeply is also the reason why it's easy for you to become blinded. And I say this with so much love to tell you that it is actually not you who is the problem here, but rather there is something else, something deeper down that is underway. Because the truth is, you may think that you're the one who is controlling your love life, right? You may think that it is your fate that control your love life. But the thing is that what is actually controlling your love life is this thing called chemistry. The thing that you call chemistry, the thing that you call spark, is actually the thing that controls the fate of your love life. And this is especially important if you find yourself repeating in relationship patterns that are unreciprocated, or men who don't truly see you, love you, put in effort as much as you. If you find yourself in these patterns repeating over and over again, the suspect here, my love, is the thing that you call chemistry. And the thing is, you may think that this chemistry comes from the God, right? It comes from the Cupid. It comes from the universe or the fate. You may call it so many different things. But the thing is that you may think that chemistry is just like, oh, it's because you are meant to be with him. But the truth is, what actually gives you chemistry, what actually gives you spark, it actually comes from much deeper. It actually comes from your unconscious. It's the deeper part of you, your psyche, right? You may think that you're in control of it. The thing is that no, the unconscious is the one who is in charge of your life, including your love life. And where is the unconscious shaped by? What is it shaped by? It's shaped by your past. Is shaped by your conditioning, is shaped especially by your childhood. So that means that if you haven't experienced love that is unconditional, right? If in your childhood you have experienced love that actually does not give you joy and satisfaction long term, like if you haven't felt unconditional love, it also means that it's going to impact how your unconscious sees love, which impacts the chemistry, the people you're drawn to, the people you're attracted to. The reason why you keep falling in love, being attracted to the same type of men over and over again, the men who seem interesting at first, they seem intelligent, they feel mysterious, but then at the end of the day, they all turn out to have these relationships with you where they are avoidant, where they don't reciprocate as much as you, or where they don't truly see, hear you, love you, right? The reason why you keep finding yourself in these patterns over and over again is because your chemistry is specifically filtering out these men. Your chemistry is selecting out these men. And where does this selection comes from? It comes from your unconscious. It comes from the deeper part of you that is blinded by what you think is love. And this is the same exact pattern that many of my women clients, they find themselves in, and including myself in the past before I realized this, which is that no matter whom you're dating, you find that your relationships are going up and down and up and down and round, right? So whenever you feel that spark, you feel that passion, you feel that aliveness, that electricity, right? Whenever you feel that, you have moments of feeling that highs. When you feel high, it's like you feel so much of a high. But then when you have the lows, you feel that hurt. You feel that pain. You feel like he isn't listening to you or that he is not there for you, right? So you find yourself in that up and down and up and down and down cycle. But then once after you have gone through it, then you feel like he comes back. When he comes back, you feel that high again. You feel that spark again. But then after that, the pattern continues to repeat with that, like him withdrawing. And then when he comes back, it's like you feel that high again and then down, high and low, high and low, and high and low. And the thing is that this pattern continues to repeat no matter whom you date. Because let's say you date someone else, and I'm gonna draw it in another color. The same pattern still repeats. You find yourself in that up and down and up and down and up and down cycle. That relationship feels like it's a roller coaster. And my love, why does this happen? This happens because think of it, your relationship like a wave, right? Right now it's forming that up and down wave. You can see that it's almost like there is this filter that is filtering out men. It's selecting men that specifically give you these types of emotion. And what is that thing that is filtering out? What is the thing that is selecting this type of man, these type of relationships? What's the thing that's selecting? It is the thing that you called chemistry, right? The filter. The chemistry is the filter that is selecting these type of men specifically. And so, which is the reason why no matter what you try to do, you may say to yourself, okay, I will try to date next time. I will try to date someone who is better. You may say that I will try to date someone who is better in terms of their intelligence, or better in terms of their emotional intelligence, or whatever that may be. Like, you may give labels to it. But the thing is also to understand is that who is the one that is saying better here? The one who is trying to define better is, again, it's the filter box, is the chemistry. And so again, even though you may consciously think in your mind, okay, I'm gonna try to date someone who doesn't look like this, who doesn't have this, right? Even when you try to do that, because this filter is still intact, this filter in your unconscious, which, you know, you call it chemistry, this chemistry thing is still intact. What is giving that spark, this chemistry is still intact. Because of it, no matter whom you date, the future relationships keep on happening, this continuing in the same cycle. And also, you may try to say that, okay, I'm gonna be a better version of myself, right? You may try all these self-improvement tactics and strategies, or you may try to learn about these relationship strategies on how to communicate to men better, right? How to make him fall in love, right? You may learn all these strategies, but then again, whenever you're trying all these strategies and tactics, these are actually just the external. They're only changing the external surface. They're only changing your behavior, but they are not changing what's actually driving the root of your behavior, which is your unconscious. What is actually driving the root of your chemistry, which is the unconscious. So therefore, if you want to change your relationship patterns for good, if you desire to have a healthy, consistent, reliable, secure love, you cannot just try to change these external things anymore, but you have to actually look deeper. You have to go deeper within, and you have to zoom into what's actually in this unconscious, what is actually creating this filter box, what is actually doing the selection, what is selecting these unhealthy relationships in the first place. And so now the question is, how do we do that? How do we change the pattern? How do we change the type of people that you're drawn to? Well, we do this by zooming into the unconscious. So this is the exact way on how my clients have also learned to let go of these unhealthy relationships, unreciprocated relationships, and instead start calling in men who are consistent, who are reliable, who are dependable, who are secure, who are emotionally available. The thing is, if we want to change the deeper patterns in our love life, we can't just try to figure out what strategy to use, but rather we have to actually look within us. And how do we do that? We zoom into that filter, the thing that is filtering whom you're attracted to, whom you're drawn to, which is the unconscious. And so what you will see is that this unconscious, right, this filter is actually very clogged. It's clogged up by all these stories back from your childhood of what you feel that love is. So the unconscious is drawn to, you are being drawn to, your chemistry is drawn to situations that are familiar to you. So if, for example, if that means that when in your childhood you received love that was inconsistent, that also means that you're going to be attracted to men who are also inconsistent, right? If your parents are not physically there for you consistently, then the same way your unconscious will think that that is love, because that feeling of when your parent comes back to you after they have their long day at work and they weren't there physically around you, but then when they finally come back, you feel that high, right? You feel that intensity inside of you, and that's what your subconscious thinks love is. And so when men display that behavior, you feel even more attracted to it. You feel more drawn to it. And why do we do that? We do that because it's familiar. It reminds us of our childhood. And the same way, if, for instance, your parents are not emotionally there for you, they never actually fully listened to you, they never fully heard you, see you, then the same way you're gonna be drawn to men who are emotionally avoidant, men who repress their emotions, or men who don't like that you talk about emotions, or men who close off and shut away whenever you share your emotion, whenever you try to be vulnerable, right? Why is it happening? Again, this is happening because we think that emotional unavailability is love. And the same way, let's say your parents did not choose you. Maybe they chose your siblings over you. So if, for example, if that is the case, then the same way you're going to be drawn to men who do not choose you. You may feel like they are not loyal to you. You may feel like you're not being chosen and they choose someone else over you, whether that is they choose their ex again or they choose another woman, right? You feel like you're always this second choice. And why does this happen again? It's because the subconscious is filtering out these men who are familiar to you, men who remind you of your childhood love. And the most important thing to realize here is that you do not receive what you desire. You do not receive the love that you desire. You receive the love that you are used to. And that is because the subconscious keeps you in the familiar zone. If, let's say, inconsistency, emotional unavailability, and parents who do not choose you, right? If someone else do not choose you, if you are used to this pattern, if you are familiar with it, the subconscious, the unconscious will try to protect you will try to make you feel safe, quote unquote safe, by keeping you in this familiar zone. Why does the subconscious do that? It does it because it's familiar. It does it because the unknown feels scary. And which is also the reason why whenever you're feeling that spark and this chemistry, right? You feel spark, this attraction, this magnetic energy, like this electric buzzing energy to people who are familiar to you, familiar to that inconsistent, that unhealthy love that you have experienced in your childhood. And so in order to start experiencing and receiving healthy, safe, secure, emotionally available love, the key is to look into what is creating this chemistry in the first place, which is the unconscious, which is the deeper part that makes you who you are. And so you can zoom into that. You do this by becoming more aware of it instead of just blindly going around and just dating and trying to make things work and analyzing and trying to figure out tips and strategies, rather than focusing on that outside. What should I text him? What should I do to him? Rather than looking outward, the shift and the transformation happens when you begin to look within, when you see that the source of the reason why every story, every love relationship pattern, the source of the real origin of where all of that is happening from, it's happening from you right here. It's happening from the deeper part of who you are. And so so it's so important to look within and clear out this filter. So instead of the filter becoming this clog, right, we want to clear it out. And so how do we do that? We do that by asking questions. So you do that through one of the ways is through reflection. You look back at your past relationships and you ask yourself, in all these relationships with these men, with these unhealthy or unhappy relationships, right? These roller coaster relationships, what do they all have in common? And this will let you to see the pattern. What are the common patterns that you find yourself in? You find yourself in patterns where you're always the one who is initiating, or do you find yourself in patterns where you guys feel this chemistry, this spark, this intensity, but then there are these conflicts, there are these arguments, this roller coaster relationship? Or maybe it's something else, right? You want to look at the common patterns that you share in the relationships that you have experienced. Then you want to go deeper into what does that feel like in your body. Maybe you may feel that intensity, right? You may feel that intense spark, the flame, the electricity, the burning fireworks. You may feel that, but then again, there is that pain, there is that wounded, there is that hurt, there are the feelings, right? So it feels like a mixed bag of all things. And on the other hand, then we want to go in even deeper by asking what the opposite of that looks like. What is the opposite of that ups and down, right? Ups and down, that high and low. Rather than that, the opposite would be safe, steady love, right? And we want to also go into what does unconditional love look like? Rather than this conditional, rather than this controlling, rather than codependent love, right? Rather than all these patterns that you found into, what is actually the true desire that you have? You want to get into the true desire of what you desire in a relationship. Not the ups and downs, but actually the kind that is safe, that is healthy, that is consistent, reliable, dependent, right? If you were to tune into that love, how does that feel like in your body? And the feeling is the key, my love. What we want to focus on is the feeling. Most of the time, people are only thinking about looks in terms of love. How would this person look like, right? Or what do we need to say, right? How do we need to look like in order to attract the person? Most of the time, people are blinded by what you need to look like, the looks, but the real thing that actually changes your relationship is your feeling, is the deeper part of you. We want to go into, instead of just how things look like, right? Rather than that, we want to notice the contrast between inconsistent versus consistent love, the contrast between unreliable versus reliable love, the contrast between dependable masculine love versus the wounded masculine, or you can call it like emotionally avoidant, right? Those type of love. Rather than that, we want to look at what does emotionally secure love, what does it feel like in your body? And this is actually the key. The feeling is the key, because as I mentioned earlier, you cannot receive what you want. You don't receive what you want, you receive what you are used to. And more specifically, that means you receive what you are used to feeling. And we cannot create that feeling of safe, healthy love by just wishing and wanting, right? Instead, rather than that, we have to cultivate it. We have to be able to experience that within. And when you start to cultivate that within, when you feel that inside of you on a day-to-day basis, you feel that on a daily basis, then what starts happening is that your subconscious, your unconscious starts rewiring. The new patterns start forming. And so the type of men that you are drawn to also starts shifting. And what you realize is that instead of this unhealthy love that you're used to being attracted to, right, used to feeling the chemistry for, you start noticing what actual healthy love looks like. So instead of all these fireworks and burst and flames, rather than that, healthy love may look like a fireplace that feels cozy, that feels warm, that feels inviting, that feels safe for you, right? And instead of this roller coaster down, up and down, rather than that, a healthy love feels like safe space where you can be who you are accepted for who you are, right? And instead of this healthy love feeling like this excitement, you may call this excitement or you may call this intensity, right? Rather than that, you will start experiencing an appreciation for calmness, for steadiness, for consistency, for reliability, right? And all the deeper things that actually lead to long-term fulfillment. Because what does the unhealthy love, right? What does the childhood pattern is the childhood patterns which impact your subconscious. They only think about it because the love that you are used to, the unhealthy love, it's only about short-term excitement, short-term passion, short-term intensity. But rather than that, healthy love is consistent, it's reliable, it's steady, it's better for you for the long run, right? It's almost like eating junk food versus healthy food. And of course, when you first start having healthy food, it's gonna feel unfamiliar to you. It's gonna feel foreign. It's gonna feel perhaps even boring to you because you haven't been used to it, right? Just like how when you start eating healthy food, you may feel like it's not as fun, but then it's actually more filling to you. It's actually more delicious. It's actually more filling to you. It's actually healthier for you in the long run. And so, my love, that is the way on how my clients shifted from unhealthy love patterns, feeling trapped in these patterns, no matter whom you try to date, no matter how many dates you go on to, no matter how many times you get into relationships, and instead to receiving safe, healthy, consistent, reliable, emotionally available love. And if that is the type of support that you're desiring, and if that is what you're looking for and you desire personalized support for it, you can check out the link in the description box to book a free one-on-one call with me to explore what your options are. Much love to you, my dear.